This episode was explosive. Let's talk about love, sex, and marriage. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is Love, Sex, and Marriage Season 2, Episode 6. This episode was everything, and let's just say this shit went left, and I was like, damn. But let me begin. First, we get a scene between Ashley and Antonio, and shout out to Tamisha Foster. Baby, you did some damn good acting in this episode, and there's no mistaking as to why Ashley is the thumbnail to this review as well as to the episode itself, because Ashley was the true MVP of this episode. So we get a scene between Ashley and Antonio. They're out on a date, and they're pretty much going back and forth, and Antonio asks Ashley, so what are your dreams? This child starts saying, well, I had a dream that I was in the jungle and a lion was chasing me. I was like, ooh, that had me tickled. But then Antonio was like, no, baby, I'm talking about, what are your aspirations? And she was like, oh, I don't take aspirin. Ibuprofen. It was too cute. Oh, but then he asked, like, what's your dream job? And she said that, she wanted to own her own restaurant, and she's working with Vontae, and she was hoping that she can become a general manager one day. And I have to say, the way she handled things, I think she's perfect for that role, hands down. Because we always be tripping off Ashley don't be doing no work, but Ashley in times of crisis and in times of extreme situations, Ashley comes through. So that was like a really cute moment. And then we see that one of Antonio's frat brothers comes in, and he talks about that he works with Paramount, and he's directing a film, and he's looking for a restaurant to showcase. Immediately the wheels start turning in Ashley's mind, because we all know that Vontae's restaurant is in the fear of being foreclosed. And he also introduced Ashley as his girl. So I was like, so afterwards, she was like, so I'm your girl now? And he's like, yeah, you my lady. And I was like, you better do it, Antonio, giving Freddie Jackson tease. I ain't mad at you, bruh. But then she says that, and she was saying, well, your friend shooting a restaurant, does that pay? And Antonio was like, well, due to the fact that it's Paramount, I'm pretty certain that it pays well. And she says, I got a spot. And he was like, okay, won't you tell me, and I will relay the message back to him. So then he asks her, what do you got to do tomorrow? She says, well, I got to take Andre. I have to work, and then after work, I have to take Andre to an interview. You know that, child. So he was like, okay, cool. So then that was the end of that. So then we get a scene where Ken invites Jeremy over. And immediately Jeremy starts in with the bullshit. He's like, oh, so you invite me over, huh? So you're trying to go upstairs? And he was like, no. He's like, oh, you want to do it on the couch? He's like, nah, I just need to talk to you. So he pretty much sits down with Jeremy, and he says that, look, what we did was wrong, and I want to tell Darren, Jeremy was like, well, why would you want to do that? And he was saying that because I don't want to start off my marriage being a lie. And, I want to come clean, and you constantly holding this over my head. But then it's like, here it was, I was thinking you this asshole. But then I see what you did with Cortez. You seem like you a decent dude. But I need to let it be known that there will be nothing between me and you. And pretty much, Jeremy was like, yeah, you're right, I know. And he says, I know that you and Darren, what you guys have is real. So if anything, Ken is like, well, why you been holding it over my head? He's like, I was just being childish, jealousy, but I'm like, it's because you're in love with Ken. And he was pretty much, yeah, but Darren's my boy, and he's a good dude, and I think what you guys got is real, and I don't want to mess that up. And he lets Ken know, like, look, you can't tell Darren, let's just bury it and never bring it up again. But he's like, but then Ken was like, but I feel I should come clean. And Jeremy lets him know that will really hurt Darren, so we need to kind of like bury that and never talk about it again. And they both kind of shook hands. Was like, okay, deal. And as soon as that happened, Darren walked in. He was like, what deal? And he's like, oh, it's nothing. And then Darren was like, nah, what deal? And Jeremy kind of threw something out. Was like, well, we made a deal that you're gonna be the first to cry at the wedding. And then Darren was like, man, I ain't crying and all of that. So that was the end of that. Then we see that Ashley takes Andre, to his interview. He got a call back. Andre goes in and he comes back pissed off. And Ashley's like, what's going on? What happened? And he was saying that I ain't get a child. And she's like, well, what happened? She says, the guy that I told you that used to be my former client, he wanted me to come in there and suck his dick, and he told me either I suck his dick or leave. And she was like, oh, hell nah. That motherfucker ain't getting away with that. Ashley got out her car. She's like, oh no, we're going back in there. She took Andre by the hand and went up in there. And she's like, he ain't getting away with that shit. Then we get a scene with Ashley, Andre, Vontae, and Ken, and they talk about what went down. And she says, and she was like, oh yeah, Ashley went in there and let the boy have it. And she was, and Ashley was like, yeah, I was about to kick that guy's ass. So they asked Andre, do you think you got the job? And he says that, I might get a call back. And then, Vontae is like saying that, can you believe that the wedding is this week? And Ken shares that he talked with Jeremy, and they decided that they're gonna take it to the grave and never bring it up no more. And then they said that, yeah, so they pretty much like, yeah, cool. So they also discussed, the wedding rehearsal and all of that. And then I think it was Andre who brought up, like, where's Cortez? And pretty much Ken says, well, I don't know where he is, but, Cortez grades are slipping, and, and this is not going to be, this, and trust me, his mom is not going to be happy with him or me. And then, like, Vontae was like, well, yeah, it seemed like that makeover was way too much for him to handle. I'm like, I completely agree. Once he got that makeover, he became a totally different monster. And then finally, Cortez shows up. And Kim was like, look, we need to talk. And Cortez was like, well, we got to do it later because I got a date. And then, like, Kim was like, yo, seriously, Cortez? You need to slow down. And he was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, look, your grades came into the mail. And then he was like, and then all of a sudden Cortez was like, you going through my mail? Dude, you're not my mom. And Kim was like, yeah, I'm not your mom, but you living in my house. And he says that, look, you need to slow down and get your priorities straight. Your grades are slipping bad. Don't be a dumb bitch. Oh, this little Cortez gets in his feelings, and he was like, you the one to talk. And Kim was like, excuse me? He's like, shit, you the one up in here judging everyone when you pretty much had sex with your fiance's best friend. And tell me why the hell when he said that shit, Darren walked in the door and heard everything. I was like, Cortez, you bitch. Ooh, Cortez made me mad with that. And then he was like, yeah, you judging everybody, but here it is, you done had sex with your fiance's best friend. I might be a dumb bitch, but at least I ain't a whore ass bitch. I'm like, boo-boo. Come to Kenny, Cortez. neither one of those are good things. So that wasn't a good read. And then Ken pretty much slaps the shit out of Cortez. He's like, yo, I got your bitch. Get your shit and get the fuck out my house. And then Cortez was like, gladly. And then he turned to Darren and was like, yeah, good luck turning a whore into a housewife. I'm like, Cortez needed his ass whooped for that shit. Because it's like every time you turn around, Cortez is involving himself in situations that have nothing to do with him. And he ends up running his mouth, causing some shit. Because we saw him do that between Bonte and Rick. And now he done did the worst by, spilling out the secret to Darren. And I did mention in my last review that when Ken came clean about him having sex with Jeremy, that I had fears that Cortez was going to be the one to spill the beans. Because Cortez, has a mouth of water. He can't hold nothing. I mean, in times like this, we need to call Moses and put a staff in it, because this bitch mouth run like the Nile River. So, so pretty much, after, Cortez walked out, Darren is like, what is he talking about? And he was like, no. And then Kim was like, let me explain. And he's like, oh, like you let me explain when I was trying to tell you about me and Andre? And he was like, so he said, so who was it, Ken? Who'd you have sex with? Was it Rick? And he was like, no. He's like, was it Jeremy? I'm like, damn. And he was like, just tell me, did you have sex with him in our house? Or worse, did you have sex with him in our bed? Yes, he did, child. And, Ken is trying to reason with Darren, and Darren's like, no, don't touch me, bruh. You know what? I'm gonna kick his ass. As a matter of fact, I should kick your ass, Ken. And then he pretty much told everybody, the wedding is off. And, and he's still trying, and Ken is still trying to stop Darren. But Darren was like, don't touch me. Leave me the hell alone. I'm done. This wedding's off, and I'm over it. And he storms out, and Ken breaks down crying, and the friends come to him. And I was like, damn. I mean, I did say that Ken should have told Darren a long damn time ago. And, I just knew that with this secret coming out late in the game, it was going to be a serious issue. Because here it is, Ken, you've been holding on to this all this time. Darren done proposed, and you literally knew that this situation was not going to be good. And as a matter of fact, you should have came clean after it happened. But the fact that you held on to it for so long, it only made it worse. Just goes to show you, man, when you hold on to secrets, they not only eat away at you, but when you reveal them later, when you should have done it sooner, it's always going to end bad. So pretty much at this point, Ken and Darren are officially broke up. But I'm hoping that things may turn around. So that went down. Then we get a scene with Cortez and Jeremy. This damn Cortez is literally trying to like work his way with Jeremy and everything. He's up in there cooking and everything for Jeremy. He's like, I'm cooking a meal for us. And he was, and I have to say, shout out to Brian Dwayne. He did some good acting in this episode, especially in this scene, because you just see Jeremy is kind of like, what the hell is this fool doing, and why is he here? And he was like, yeah, it smells good, but I don't mind the company, but why are you here? I was cracking up. I was like, Jeremy's like, what the hell is this little boy doing? I ain't got time. And then all of a sudden, Cortez tries to make a move and kiss Jeremy. He's like, yo, what you doing? And what's going on, man? And he's like, and then Cortez like, you don't like me? And he was like, not like that. He was like, but you saved me, and I thought we had a connection. He was like, look, I was sympathetic to your situation, but no, I don't like you like that. And he's like, oh, is it because you're in love with my cousin? Yeah, Jeremy's in love with Ken. And in this scene, it is more evident, more now than ever, that Jeremy's in love with Ken. And he was like, no, it's not that. And besides, Ken is marrying my best friend tomorrow. And we can kind of see it in Jeremy's face. He really is not happy about that, because he really wants Ken for himself. And then, so when he said that, yeah, that's not the case, because, Ken is marrying my best friend tomorrow. And then Cortez was like, no, he's not. And he was like, yes, he is. And he was like, and then of course it's like, no, he's not. Darren called off the wedding. And, you know, Jeremy was like, why? And then Cortez with the bullshit was like, well, Ken's a whore, and he found out about the two of you, and he called off the wedding. And then Jeremy's like, well, how the hell did he find out? And then all of a sudden you see Cortez. I'm like, see, that's that bullshit. That's why Cortez needs his ass whooped, because you starting a whole bunch of shit with your big mouth ass. And then all of a sudden, you know, Jeremy's like, you told him, didn't you? You know, he's like, but he was like, well, he would have found out eventually. And then Jeremy's like, yeah, he would have found out eventually, but it wasn't your place to tell. Like, man, you mess up everything, man. What the hell is wrong with you? And he's like, and he says, so that's the reason why you here. And he says, yeah, you better hope Ken forgives your ass, because he does nothing but speak highly of you, and that's your family. And on top of it, Ken loves Darren. But he was like, and then Cortez was like, but Ken called me childish. And then Jeremy's like, you are. I was like, yes, tell his ass, Jeremy. He's like, you don't think you childish? I'm like, yeah, Cortez is literally, that whole makeover has literally made Cortez feel himself, and it's been nothing but detrimental to him. I mean, after all, it was you feeling yourself as to why you damn near got raped on film. And as I said, you signed that media release form, so that shit may still come out and bite you in the ass. And it could also be detrimental to Jeremy as well. Just saying. And then all of a sudden, you know, Jeremy's like, look, we gotta fix this, man. Damn, you mess up everything. So I'm like, bruh. So your little whole thing about getting Jeremy Cortez literally got shot to shit. And good thing, because Cortez need to get his shit together. So then we got, you know, a scene with Andre, Vontae, and Ashley. They're at Vontae's restaurant. And they're pretty much, you know, somewhat unraveling after the fact that now Darren knows about Ken having sex with Jeremy. And now that the wedding's off, and then Vontae's like, wow, so what the hell I'm going to do now with all this extra food that got prepared for the wedding? And pretty much they were saying that, you know, yeah, Darren was really upset. You know, and they were asking, like, do you know where he's staying? And Vontae was like, probably Rick. But then now that me and Rick ain't talking, you know, I don't even know. I can't really get in touch with him because, you know, me and Rick ain't speaking right now. And then, like, Andre was like, well, where the hell is Cortez at? And then Vontae was like, I don't know, but when I see him, I'm gonna kick his ass. And then Ashley was like, I know you mad right now, Vontae, but let's be real. You know your ass can't fight. And then all of a sudden, we see Donald, a.k.a. Ronald McDonald, comes in there and starting with his bullshit. You know, and he comes in with foreclosure papers and tells them they gotta be out within an hour. See, what really happened is that, you know, Ronald McDonald offered his Happy Meal to Vontae, and he's mad because he wanted to stick his chicken nugget up in Vontae's sweet and sour sauce, and because Vontae turned him down, he now wants to shut down his restaurant. And then he pretty much comes in, you know, talking his shit. He presents the foreclosure papers and says, yeah, you got an hour to get the hell out of here. And then Vontae was like, but I thought I had the end of the month. And he's like, no, I moved up the date. And then Andre was like, you little bitch, and tried to charge at Donald. But then Vontae calmed him down. And he was like, you know, and he was like, yo, Donald, why are you doing this? And he says, look, it's just business. Like, no the fuck it ain't, with your messed up ass. And then Ashley steps in and she was like, how much does he owe? And then Donald, being a shady bitch, was like, more than you can give. And Ashley's like, first of all, bro, you don't know my life. And second, I asked you nicely. I'm like, yeah, fuck around with Ashley, Donald. Ashley gonna beat your ass. Ashley will whoop that ass, bruh. And he pretty much says that, look, do you got $30,000? Because if you ain't got $30,000, you're out of a job. MVP, baby, because here it is. Ashley pulls out a check, hands it to him. She's like, you know, here it is. You know, there's money. for the to stop the foreclosure. Now you got your money. Won't you be gone with your tight ass? I was like, yes, Ashley, you better come through, girl. I love me some Ashley. So finally he leaves and he's like, and then he tells Vontae, this ain't the last of me, Vontae. I'm like, here he go with the bullshit, because Donald is seriously in his feelings because Vontae rejected him. So they pretty much they asked her, girl, how'd you get that kind of money? And she's like, oh, I know people. And then Andre was like, are you working the corner? And she was like, look at this. This is premium, honey. The corner can't afford a bitch like me. But then she says that, Antonio, my boyfriend, you better claim it, bitch. She's like, Antonio, my boyfriend, has a frat brother who works with Paramount, and he's looking to shoot a restaurant, and I mentioned Vontae's. And I was just so happy that my girl came through, and they were just so happy that, and as I said, Vontae, make Ashley the general manager, bitch, because she saved your ass. She literally showed that that's a manager move. When you have a crisis and you pretty much, think off the top of your head, how do you solve the problem? Ashley solved the problem. So there's your general manager right there, Vontae. Hook her up, because she definitely deserves it. So I was happy to see that go on. And then next thing you know, we see that Rick comes in, and Rick was like, and he was like, and then Devontae was like, Rick, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I'm here to talk about Darren and Ken. But Devontae was like, well, what about our situation? And he says that, yeah, I just walked in, I overheard, I know what happened. But then Vontae was like, look, I just want you to know it was all about saving my restaurant, nothing more, nothing less. And he was like, yeah, I know that, and everything's good. So pretty much, they was about to, kiss and everything, and Vontae was like, and then like Ashley broke him up, was like, bitches, get a room. So then they asked, what's going on with Darren? Was he at your place? He said, yeah, he was at my place, but he went to go meet somebody. And they was like, oh, so good. He probably is going to meet up with Ken and they're going to work it out. He was like, yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, he didn't say where he was going, but he said he was going to meet someone. So that was the end of that scene. And the next thing you know, we see that Darren is meeting somebody, but it's not who we think. He is meeting up with his ex-boyfriend Xavier, and he's saying that, I know there's been a lot between us, but, I really do miss you, Xavier. Let's make this happen, and, let the past be the past, and let's start anew. And then we see him and Xavier toasted up, so I'm like, damn. So Darren done moved on back to his ex-boyfriend, and I'm like, it just kind of questions, was Darren truly over Xavier? Because my whole thing is that when Jeremy gave him that number and Chris told him to throw it away, he kept it. So it makes me think Darren truly wasn't fully over Xavier, and this thing with him and Ken may have been on shaky grounds from the beginning. So we just have to see what's going to happen next. And we see on the next episode, there is a wedding, but who is Ken getting married to? And how is that going to play out now that Darren has now moved on and went back to Xavier? So that's what I have, y'all. Shout out to you guys. You all did a phenomenal job in this episode. This episode had me gagged, and I was so here for it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also follow all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. And also I have the link to Love, Sex, and Marriage, the web series. Subscribe to them and start watching this show, because Love, Sex, and Marriage is killing it in season 2. Also like this video. Like this video, share this video, and I will be back with the next episode of Love, Sex, and Marriage. I am so here for this show. The stage play was phenomenal, and season 2 is gag worthy. So yeah, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And yes, I will be back with another episode of Love, Sex, and Marriage. So until next time, everybody, take care.